Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat. Welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evans. Good to be back with y'all, and thank you, Junie, for the doodle raid. It's good to have y'all here. Hope y'all having a good day. That little gator game you were playing was super cute. Yeah, it's so wild to see you here. I mean, I couldn't see that coming, but yes, whoa. Very classic jazz. Yeah, I quite like Ron Galinas' stuff. It's like lo-fi jazz. It uses the background noise. Apps do tend to be hard. Yeah, just wait until you see this one's geometry. It's... Oh. Anyway, before we get started, I do want to say a thank you to Ghosties for the follow. Welcome, Ghosties. Hope you have a good time. Welcome to the channel. Let's go ahead. Let's dive in to some Minecraft. Oh, there's the raid message. How did it show up on the booth? Who knows? Would I ever try Monster Hunter? No. I find Monster Hunter incredibly boring to play, actually. Hey, Nanakit. What? Look, I find the whole... It takes forever to take down a single monster, and it's boring. Look, Minecraft is building something up. If I'm going to take something down, I want the combat to be swift. Hey, Catholic Brit. Not at work. Whoa, doing artsy stuff. Nice. So this is the Basilica we've been working on, the Basilica of Our Lady Queen of Angels. It takes like 15 minutes to kill a monster. Wow, I can take out several Kingdom Hearts bosses in that time. Hey, Nameless Wanderer. So last time we did some terraforming. I finished up the terraforming on this side. I also built out the sacristies, and I started building up the walls here. We started that. I finished building out the choir stalls. And then, so this is the apse. I wasn't going to do one, and then I was like, you know what? How hard could it be? And I do actually like how it all fits together, because the arch fitting into the outer wall here would go through the bell towers. So it actually flows quite naturally, but it's the whole making all of this fit this. I built this? I did, and this is all in survival mode. Apps, I hardly gets tackled. So yeah, we have the sacristies. We need to decorate them. But nice little rooms. Nice. Built up the walls here. And I built up that wall with where the stained glass is going to go. Oh, sorry, Junie. I didn't see that message. Let me show you. This is my character. But we're wearing the armor because I am prone to falls. Take the priest out of the game, but you can't take the game out of the priest. Wait. So first thing I need to do is actually chop down some trees, because we're out of charcoal. Oh, of course you had to spawn a special way. Nerd. Father Steve! This means Father Steve can canonically give absolution. Only if his bishop has given him faculties. Can I make a Beretta in Minecraft? I mean, I guess I could make like a physical one, but I don't think without mods that you could really do a hat one. Also good to see you, Brayherd. Hope you're having a good day. I shouldn't be complaining, though. This is a lot of good wood to turn into charcoal. You are a priest, but I am the Lord of dreams and all things that are not. At least that's what I look like in Minecraft. Oh, but I am what I look like in Minecraft. I don't know if we want a Beretta when you can have a Smith & Wesson. My uncle took me shooting at the range once, and he brought his Smith & Wesson revolver, and it was very nice. Baptized zombies? Do you have any idea how hard that is? It converts them back into villagers, I guess. And I do have a baptistry in this church. Hey, Matt Pack, your old soul is showing. I answered the office a few minutes ago. It was a sales call and realized that I know a salesman with the same name as who sells that product. Oh, good. Map Hack is just dropping murderer lore. What lore? Murderer! He's talking about ways the Mafia mutilated people. Crime lore. I didn't know that baptistry was a term until now. Most churches don't have just have a holy water font. Yeah, most American churches, but if you go to Europe, a lot of them, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa is actually the baptistry of the church. Echoes from Chesterton's Father Brown. Did you really think that a man who sits here and hears real men's sins all day would be ignorant of real evil? It's true. Burn up those sticks because I have a ton of sticks. European places are on your bucket list. Oh, yeah, no, you should get there. A lot of beautiful stuff. But a lot of the churches, sometimes the baptistry is even a physically separate building. This one, it's in this bell tower over here. Need money for that? Mood. The real evil's the evil we do all along. But yeah. Nice little baptismal font with a candle. That was the bell tower. I thought it was the baptistry. I could be wrong on that, but I do know several other churches where, like John Lateran has a great baptistry, but it is also physically separated from everything else. Okay, so that's chugging along. That's going to make us some of that. Let's take our smooth sandstone. Let's take a little bit of cut sandstone, because I might need that. Okay, the Leaning Tower is the bell tower, but still, the baptistry is elsewhere. Being able to afford to go to the Holy Land was an insane set of circumstances in Providence. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so I added in this half arch here just to like help me visualize what I needed to do. So I think the first thing is, let's finish off this layer. I think I'm going to try and layer it based on vertical layer. You need to get back into this server, Step-Zero. The Abbey is always there for you. Ah! Villager! Leave me alone! See, this is the part I was getting to where I'm like, I guess I probably just do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to build an altar area here. Because my thinking is basically then we have the choir stalls and an altar for the canons to celebrate their daily mass. We have a altar over there for a public daily mass with the tabernacle, and then you have the high altar for Sunday mass with the public. That trip was a clear God will provide moment. Nice. Wow. It's very generous of your brother. Whoa. Don't worry, I only mildly almost fell. But building this apse has certainly been an interesting project because I had to build this bell tower at least up to that height to know where the rest would connect. No falling! I'll try! Actually, I'll need to place that one. So then I can do that. Do that. Next time you take a wrong step, it will be a further falling father. Oh, come back here. Want to take want to take a look, see how this is coming together. Okay, yeah, that looks good. That looks fine. Ugh. You stop holding my wrist at a weird angle. Problem is with the way I have my keyboard and my mouse and my camera and everything set up. Last tier doesn't quite match. Yeah, that's what I'm noticing now. I'm trying to figure out where I screwed up. I think it's that needs to go there. No? Two, 3, 1, 2. And up 1. Okay, so that needs to go there, and that needs to go there. That's what's going on. And then this will line up ultimately with the tower. Yeah, building curves with squares is tricky. And there are different techniques, too. Like, there's no one set rule to make it work, either. Because, see, now the thing is I have to figure out how do I mesh this to here. Because, like, from this point, it's a little easier. Oops. So, like, now the apse comes to this part of the wall where I actually want to break some of this out so I can put in a window later. You think I'm doing awesome? Well, thank you, Junie. Thank you for the positivity. Circling the square, as it were. See, now whenever I hear that, though, I think of r/squared circle, which is a wrestling subreddit. Yeah, that's not quite the best. It looks a little weird right now because there isn't the other tower. I don't know if I'm a building wizard. Okay, but how then do we mesh apps to wall? Do I... So there's a couple different options. We could just bring this forward and then just wall it off here, which I don't think is the worst. And I can leave it alone on this level because this is going to be bell tower territory. It looks like a Catholic church or something. Yay, it looks like a sandcastle. I mean, I am working with sandstone. You built a free... I mean... It's pretty good. It's not... Trust me when I say, and I'm not trying to be, like, artificially humble here, I am not the world's best Minecrafter. There are some truly amazing builders out there who I just pale in comparison to. You're trying to be positive. I mean, yes, but your positivity is a little different. Yeah, I think the best thing is really just bring these ranks forward to here and then just build it up as a wall. It's going to look a little weird. So from the outside, like if you're looking at that corner, it's a little meh. I don't have to be positive. I can also be negative needed. Fair. But I think on the inside, like you're not really gonna see it. Like there's that lip there. And again, this open space is gonna be filled up when we build up that clock tower, or bell tower. So now I need to close up this mini apps up here, but first, sleep. You go, all right. Thanks so much for the raid, June. You have a great day. I'll do my best to make Kecker and St. Paul proud. I try that every day. I don't necessarily succeed. I look forward to meeting St. Paul one day, God willing, in heaven. And I also imagine him saying, why? Fortunately, this apps is much smaller. Well, that's a different way to do it. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Except more in a... Really? Okay. Kind of a way. I also want to ask Paul about his first letter to the Corinthians. Not what we have as the first letter, but the first letter that is lost to time. Yeah, there we go. That's looking decent. Yeah, I like how that's coming together. Caught up in frustration. Maybe. But I do like this row of cut sandstone lines up with this one. Let's go check on the charcoal situation. Okay, we got some. It's actually a good amount. So then we'll use this to make that. We'll circle back. Let's chop down some more trees. Now that more trees have spawned. Yeah. Accidentally hit my Windows button. I'm sorry, my desktop is so messy. Those are the tool to use on leaves. Really? Hose? I've always used clippers. I literally never knew that. Well, today is the feast of St. Pius X. 20th century, well, 19th into 20th century Pope, in figure. You can thank him for First Holy Communion being done at the age that it is. He had a desire for more people to receive communion more frequently. And so in order to aid that, he was like, what if we started younger in receiving communion? Which I think is an important thing to remember, and so I like to think of him as like the apostle of the Eucharist for the 20th century, and calling us to that more frequent encounter with Christ. Oh no, there's something growing in there. Otherwise it would have decayed by now. Starting younger is certainly an interesting idea. Yeah, I mean, for the time. And it seems so normal now, obviously, with its as a practice, but at the time it was like, whoa, he lowered it. Because he used to be confirmed first. A hoe plus efficiency and fortune will get you a higher drop rate of saplings. Oh, Mel Tigray has claimed first. Lo, may you rule well in the kingdom of Furstendom, but heavy is the crown that weighs upon thine head. Or something to that effect. I forget exactly how I worded it. Good to see you, Mel. Probably be last later, lol. What are my thoughts on Diocese going back to the original sacrament order? It makes sense. Why is there a 10k point redemption named the points hole? I don't know, Step Zero. Why don't you try the points hole? Bucket is most OP. Yeah, especially if you're like falling. If you can do the timing thing where you fall and you land on your bucket, it's kind of nuts. Saving up points for the point hole. I was saving points, and I'm 99% sure that nothing but dispose of points given the name rather than... But someone must test it. Someone must test it indeed, Step Zero. Step Zero has redeemed a father joke. It's like he never learns. I love a good joke about an orange, especially when they have a tang of truth in them. Map Pack has teamed a timeout. Go to the corner and think about what you did, young Map Pack. Need to throw that one in there. There we go. The points hole. It's a fun little prize. I remain recalcitrant. Well, you can be recalcitrant in the corner. Dripstone on a block under lava will drip lava. You put a cauldron, you can get infinite sources of lava for smelting. Yeah, it is nice. But I'm too lazy. So I just chop trees. Recalcitrant is just a... It's just fancy for ordinary. You're curious what your homily on today's gospel would be. The priest we had today gave a good homily, but I don't feel like I hear good homilies on it much. I don't remember what the gospel is. I saw that it was St. Pius X and said, I didn't have a mass today, but I said if I were to preaching, it would be on him and his desire to be like, hey, can we go to communion more? Please? It's really cool. Is this... I mean, Map Hack redeemed the timeout. He asked for it. Ah, Step Zero, you have thrown your points into the point hole. Congratulations, you have discovered the points hole. You have been bamboozled, misled, confused. Yeah, the hole can never be filled. The hole always hungers. You didn't have message? Does that mean you're exerting no gravitational force? I am surviving purely on my strong and weak nuclear forces. The hole hungers for points. Oh, the workers hired at different times? Yeah, I mean, I think in many ways just the... One of the key takeaways for us in modern America is, you know, Welcome the convert. Am I doing anything with the stonecutter or using all smooth sandstone? So I am using cut sandstone as like an accent piece, as you can see there, to help break up the monotony of the wall. But most of the wall is just going to be smooth sandstone. The main thing that's going to make it pop is the use of this stripped birch, and then the stained glass windows. Yeah, I was trying to think of things to do as high point redeems the other day. And in the meantime, I was like, you know what? A points hole. Anyways, time for revenge. You put your points in the point hole. Your first freeze-dried batch for GothCon is coming out. Ooh, thank you. Ah, revenge. I see. Let me finish this layer. Wheel of Pain, spin, 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 make me cry. Pulparindo! I did add, by the way, because everyone else in the office tried the terrible fiber toffee. I did add it to the wheel. Pulparindo, extra picante. Fiber toffee? Yeah, fiber toffee. It's 1,000 bits to decide the candy. Tamarind, look, not everything on the Wheel of Pain is necessarily bad. Some of it is just weird. This is probably the best thing that on there for me. But it's still kind of weird because it's the extra spicy kind. And spicy candy is just an interesting experience. I bet this would be really good if you had a sore throat, though. Yeah, chili candy is a niche. What's the wrong spot? You saw candied jalapenos the other day. I'm curious. I'm not going to necessarily write it off. Also not necessarily going to go running to a store to try and find it. Pepper jelly is your jam. See, it's so weird because, like, on my tongue, this candy is so sweet, and then, like, as I'm, like, as it's going down my throat, it just is this, like, tingling spiciness. Good news. I'm out of sandstone blocks. And I don't have an escape route. Your birthday's going to be at GothCon? That's pretty sick. Don't need 2 of those. Gotta get pinata. Nice. How many beaches or deserts have been completely mined out for this build? So it actually was pretty hard to find a desert, which is part of the impressive part of this. And I haven't completely mined it out, but it's a lot thinner than it used to be. And I'm nowhere near done yet. Although we are actually making pretty good progress. There's Cerise, the happiest using other materials, yeah. Especially because the Abbey is right over the desert. I don't see a message in AutoMod jail. It would be very much like Twitch, though, to have something get lost in AutoMod jail. So it's when it gets to this layer. Yeah, this layer when I do the smooth sandstone. Or the cut sandstone, I should say. Oh, are you trying to post a link? Because if it says that, it just gets blocked. No link? I don't know. Must have been something you said. Probably some construal of words in some way that isn't actually inappropriate, but the AutoMod settings see it and go, Maces are cool. You want to do a build entirely out of glazed terracotta? See how loud you can make it? I love how fun that looks. On my previous server, I had just this big old floor in the middle of my area. Native glazed terracottas, making a kind of pattern. Yep, you paid and asked for it, so I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you hopefully got some work done in that time. Here's your timeout creatively. The word was psycho. Oh, that might, yeah. That might be an auto-blocked word. I don't have a whole lot to do right now. Fair enough. Ow. I know how to climb scaffolding. Ah. Breaks too easily. Okay, with that, let's close in the ceiling on this side. Oh, whoops. Used to be like that. And then from this wall, it just goes down and connects. Great. Today's your stepfather's birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday to him. Freeze-dried Skittles. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, that's fine. I have hecked up. Cool. That looks more or less the same on each side. You're not that far off for freeze-dried Skittles, Beer Fox. Bitto honey is good. Okay, let's go check out the scouring location. Because I think next we'll work on these walls. Next load, Swedish Fish and Sour Patch Kids. Let's go. Here's the Abbey that Step Zero is working on. And then here's the desert that I'm emptying out. Although there's another desert over that way too. So fortunately it's not too bad. But, you know, I got my little hole in the ground. I just come here sometimes to get away from it all and mine out some sandstone. Oh yeah, I should show off the Bible. I'll show that on the way back. And Brayherd, you said you got Minecraft working. You got keys to this kingdom now as a mod, so I look forward to seeing where you set up camp and seeing what you're building. The non-biblical Bible. Yeah, no, it's the biblical Bible. Oh, we found water. That's fun. Where's this water coming from? Is this the ocean? That's the ocean. Okay. Yeah, the Talmarian Church has weird things going on. They do, in fact. Brayherd is not making that up. They wish Catholics start overseeing. So, I mean... fairly robust in Polish literature. That doesn't surprise me in weird ways. This uneven mining activity in Nightwitch. Well, it's when I'm just collecting piles of sandstone and my pickaxe goes so quickly, I don't really need to care about am I doing it in an efficient way or a good-looking way? It's just, am I getting it? And trust me, I hate it too. It's why I don't come here. I get my sandstone and I leave. Efficiency 5. Efficiency 4. Last time I played Poland Civ 6, I founded Catholicism in 1000 BC. Yeah, that sounds right. If you read the Confessions of St. Patrick, actually, which is all hagiography, supposedly Jesus came to Ireland and visited this family and gave them a mitre and a crozier that was supposed to be given to St. Patrick, and that they would not die until they met St. Patrick, but their family would die. So there's like several generations of this family watching their children and their grandchildren, etc., live and die. And then eventually St. Patrick shows up and he's like, oh, hey, Jesus said you have something for me? And they're like, yes, take this mitre and crozier. You're going to be Bishop of Ireland. Okay, bye. And then they die. Byzantium? Catholicism? Oh, I did forget to show the Bible. It's a shame that I can just fly there pretty quickly. I've done proof of concept. Like, I have a boat out there. It gets so much... Going back and forth, you just get tired of it, and you're just like, I'm just gonna fly. I wish I had an Elytra, so I wouldn't have to change modes, but I haven't found an end portal yet because I haven't found any blaze rods, or blaze generators to get the blaze rods I need. Anyway, here at the Abbey, we have Step Zero's little chapel. But in the scriptorium, on this, the Book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God say that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day. Oh, you got a typo. And the darkness, typo, he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So, this is hand transcribed, by the way. This is not copy and pasted. Step Zero is taking the time to type this out, and is up to Noah, apparently. Book is signed. Typos are permanent. Fair enough. I love how that appears out of the fog. That is such a cool apps. I am thoroughly pleased with how that turned out for all the work that went into it. I'm in the margins. This is why I have cows and sugarcane and chickens at the Abbey. Yep. I mean, properly speaking, I don't know where I was going with that, actually. Oh, Mel, being in the margins. That's what I was going to say. There's actually a bunch of cats just doodled into margins in medieval manuscripts. And a bunch of, like, knights fighting snails because monks were really tired of snails ruining their gardens. I mean, honestly, the knights fighting snails is also pretty darn cute. In Ethiopian manuscripts, because they would learn scribing from such a young age, you'll often find on a page that would wind up being glued to a piece of wood to form the book. On that page, you'd find we're finding all sorts of doodles. Also, I was mildly annoyed, but also quite happy in the end. There was an Ethiopian manuscript that I had transcribed and been working on translating. I wanted to find it again to try and get back to that at some point. And the previous website no longer had it. It had been at the University of Toronto. Turns out the collection is now housed at Notre Dame. And they actually have an even better website for it. Catechism or Summa Theologica? I do the Catechism first. Summa Theologica is quite large. Yeah, Higgs would be pleased. Many, many lines of then X had Y and lived for Z years. Yeah, you get a lot of that in Genesis. What's wild is if you actually track out the numbers, Adam was alive when Noah was born. He died before the flood, but Higgs is related to the guy that started your company. Wow, it's a small world. You've read most of the Catechism, you have not read the Summa. Yeah, I have not read the whole of the Summa by any means. I have read not insignificant portions. It's incredibly important in historical theological development. It still holds many critical ideas. It is not without its flaws, but it is dense. Go over halfway through City of God and your mind was melting? Yeah. Well, City of God gets into some really weird, like, time stuff. Oh, it's earlier in the day than I thought. That should be fine. Super small. Book of Laws are going to take forever to transcribe. Yeah, I mean, you could start with something small like the book of the letter to the Philemon. Okay, so there's no flying buttress there, but there are flying buttresses here. So I need to have these to contextualize where the windows go. Company kept the name, but the family member doesn't own it anymore. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Just want to make sure I didn't screw things up. Just go in order, otherwise you'll lose track. That's fair. Martyrdom of Polycarp, Shepherd of Hermas. Oh, Shepherd of Hermas. Hold on, I wanna... Polywhirl? No, not Polywhirl. Okay, so yeah, that is 2 up. So if I... or to put one in, it would go there. That's too tall. Is that how close that one gets there? How is that not? Oh, that's right, because this one's construction is slightly different on the side one. Okay, so it matches there, as long as it matches that side. St. Polycarp, he's the official saint of a Discord you're in simply because of his name. There you go. Take the ecumenical approach to start transcribing the text from other faiths. Mahabharata might take a while, just a day or two. Burkadoo, does the origin of water used in making holy water play any part in grace blessing received, i.e. water in the Jordan? I believe, and I've heard things kind of back and forth on this, but generally the idea is that like water from the River Jordan is already considered blessed in its own right. What was I doing? I was grabbing that, and there's actually an older tradition of pouring water from the Jordan into a holy water font to make it holy water. But I guess I would say ultimately it ties into the idea of like efficacious versus actual grace. In that, you know, ultimately no, its source does not make it somehow more holy, but that knowing the source might make it have more meaning to an individual, and in that sense, would be more have a greater experience of grace. Oh, it is time for sour. Thank you for the 1,000 bits, Step Zero. I'll get to my suffering in a moment. Oh man, I took one of these on Saturday for the sudden death tournament, and I'm just now getting feeling in my tongue back, man. There's not that many left. I need to order more of these. They come in big tubs, and I intended to order one of those, but I'm getting around to it. Here, I'll grab this one. This one looks like it has plenty of the sour powder on it. Thank you, Step Zero. Oh, there it is. Oh, it hurts. It hurts to swallow. Oh. Woo. Oh. Oh, my eyes are watering. I feel like that one had extra. Are you happy now? Oh, okay, that's the first wave of the sour done. There's always that surprise second wave, though. Yeah, it does bring your... I mean, it tightens your... It legitimately actually really does hurt. Like, I can't express that enough. And it really does kind of tighten your muscle, your vocal cords. So, like, some of it, I'm playing it up, obviously, but some of it, the voice cracks... That is just what's happening. You did nothing to yeah, I know you did nothing to compel it, but... Okay, so I'm looking at this, I leave those kind of notched one back from the wood, so I actually need to... Oh no. Dingo's fed kidneys. I wasn't creative that entire time. Whoops. Holy water from outside of Ephesus. That's cool. Yeah, so the wood goes... there, I guess? So wait, where does... What's the difference creating the two modes? So, in the current mode I'm in, I can fly around, and if I place something, it does not use up what's in my inventory. And if I destroy something, it doesn't create a block, it just evaporates it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Ow. This should be the last wall. And then the central area should be fully encased. Three of the parishes around you all have mini chapel for the sanctuary. 6-foot wall separating the two. Full glass, one being 8% opaque. Oh, those are choices. So yeah, we have all those walls done. I don't know how anyone is supposed to get to the original tabernacle in my church. It's set so far into the altar space that, like, if I'm standing at the altar, like, waist touching it, I can barely touch the door with my arm fully extended. So we actually just have a separate tabernacle sitting in front of it now. Are there... Well, not in the original tabernacle now. There were. We used to use it. Yeah, 2 down. Great. Yeah, go Gadget Arms. Not necessarily a great look at the tabernacle. Especially if it's someone short trying to get into it. You know, like the way your current parish is set up for that reason. Behind the altars, glass wall, or chapel behind the tabernacles in the chapel every mass. They have a Eucharistic minister bring Zaboria and return to Zaboria after communion. Can't even see the tabernacle in the first section of pews. I mean, I think the idea, and this is actually called for in various official church documents, is that a new church constructed should have a tabernacle that is in a separate place, so as to not confuse the relationship of the sacrifice and the true presence, favoring one over the other. There's a shower core. I accidentally just chipped into it. I really liked Atlantis Cathedral, actually, when I saw that earlier this year. It's Art Deco, which I think is fun and unique. But it wasn't, like, ostentatious. It was actually quite appropriate, but it was definitely different. But I really like Art Deco, so... You've never been in a cathedral. Okay, that's fine. Great news is you can be Catholic your entire life and never set foot in one. I think there's meaning in stepping foot in one. You don't need a cathedral to recommend. That's only going to make sense to Utahns. Hoi! Hey, Bree! Last hour of work! Ready to go home for the past 2 hours, want to explode? That's a mood. Hang in there. We believe in you. San Fernando's downtown, and I've gone to the gift store after jury duty. There you go. I also love that you saying there's a gift store, and I'm just like, yeah, that tracks. First time that I was ever inside a cathedral church when any sacramenting was going on was a high school trip to France. The Easter crowd was so big that never made it inside Notre Dame that day. That's fair. I could see that being a bit of a busy day. Did I build this? Yeah, just a bit. It's all in survival mode. It just keeps me busy. Keeps me out of trouble, really. It's the only Catholic cathedral you've been to. That's fair. Where is your cathedral, by the way, Brayherd? Because I know there's a cathedral in DC, but I know it's not like the Cathedra Cathedral. I know it's an honorific title style, like how we have Basilica. Oh, wait! Never mind! My city, my churches are older than the U.S. It makes you happy? Nice. Me with Dirt House and being proud? You should be proud. I went to see St. Pat's in New York. Hey, there you go. That's a cathedral. It's a pretty big cathedral, too. Yeah, my church is not that much smaller. Actually, for a long time, we were known as the Cathedral on the West Side because of our size. Your church is the same one you were ordained at, right? Yep, that's the one I'm currently working in. So good to see Bad Roxy. You probably walked by mine. It's right by a bunch of stuff. It is a pretty church, isn't it? Thank you. Parishes remaining episcopates, so we're under the Archbishop of Detroit and an auxiliary bishop in the cathedral in Cleveland. Ah. But every other OCA parish here is under the cathedral in DC. Ah, oh, interesting. Oh, I didn't know the DC... I didn't know the DC cathedral was actually a cathedral. I thought it was an honorific title. Because I know, like, the Archbishop of the OCA is here in New York, Archbishop Elpidophoros. There are 3 different Orthodox cathedrals in DC. Yeah, that tracks both in terms of DC and how Orthodox cathedrals work. Still annoyed that St. Paul the Apostle didn't make it into the Spider-Man game from a few years back. I mean... You can't be in every... You can't model every historical church. You're gonna have to make concessions at some point and say, not this one. Still need to visit DC. DC is a cool city. I really dig it. I thoroughly enjoyed living there. I want to grab some acacia planks so we can finish off the tapering of the dome. If I have any. I do. Great. You want to go back north anywhere? How does that not look right? No, that is. That's exactly how that's supposed to go. One day you can forward it. It's on your places to go. I mean, there is Amtrak from Florida to DC, which would be pretty affordable. That's the part I was confused about. So why does that line up? Oh, that's why. I'm thinking this should be one back. But yeah, it's just a little L piece. Currently 104, feels like 111. Ugh. Apodophorus is... Oh, see, it's a separate jurisdiction. Okay. Because sometimes it does get referred to as the Greek Orthodox Church of America, so the naming gets confusing. Need so many days off work. That's fair. I'm trying to figure out how I want to go outside here. Oh, the bell tower. I'll use the bell tower. Cathedrals I've been to: Immaculate Conception, Denver; St. Lourdes, Amarillo; Our Lady of Angels, LA; St. Patrick's, New York; Sacred Heart, Houston; St. Patrick, Fort Worth; St. Mary, Austin, Kölner Dom in Cologne; St. John and the Baptist, Santorini; St. Stephen's in Vienna. So St. Patrick's, St. Matthew's in DC. What do they call it? Christ the Light in Berkeley or Oakland? Oakland. Madeline in Salt Lake. Queen of Angels, LA. Never made it to Sacred Heart Austin. The Lateran in Rome, because that is technically the cathedral. Christ the King in Atlanta. Hey, Warrior for Christ. I'm trying to think other dioceses I would have had an opportunity or a reason to go to the cathedral. Oh, shoot! That could have ended worse. Only Catholic cathedrals that I've been in are Paris, Montreal, Quebec. Multiple non-Catholic cathedrals in DC, but not the Catholic one. St. Matthew's is a really cool little cathedral. Oh, Baltimore's cathedral. I don't remember what's called. I've been there. I'm the funniest Catholic you know. That's fair. You did win the tournament after all. I should retire on that. Yeah, retire is number 1. A win streak of 3 in a row? You're basically untouchable. Why even compete? I'm kidding. You're very funny, and that's why you should actually keep competing. It should be me, but I'm not Catholic. Well, maybe in the fullness of time. Any other cathedrals I've been to that are Catholic? So I've been to a couple Orthodox cathedrals. Been to the cathedral in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Man, I bet that thing's tiny. Mel, chill! She's not wrong, though. Ow, I did it again. I want to add some torches. Eventually, I think these are going to get replaced with candles. But they need some lamps in the choir section. I'm not making new Catholics by having babies, so I have to diversify. I expect the Wyoming Cathedral to be big because they're least crowded. Yeah, but there's not a lot of Catholics in Wyoming. It is part of the Zion Curtain and... It's going to move to Wyoming and make more. I mean, if you want to move to Wyoming, you go ahead. I can give you some food recommendations. Elk. Yeehaw and Deus Vult. There's this great place called the Brass Plum in the middle of nowhere, which, to be fair, doesn't narrow it down in Wyoming. I thought about Cheyenne for about a month. Country roads take me home. Back when you thought you wanted to be a teacher? Fair enough. Wyoming is like actual cowboy, whereas Texas is like cosplay cowboy. Be my teacher. Educate me, Roxy. Holy Family, Anchorage, St. Jude, Florida, Epiphany, Florida, John the Evangelist, Louisiana, St. Paul, Pittsburgh, San Fernando. Very nice. It can get pretty toasty in Wyoming, not gonna lie. Been to St. Louis and NOLA. There you go. Three San Fernandos in chat. Let's go. Fernando is actually... Is the San Fernando of that cathedral St. Ferdinand, the King of Castile? Just asking for a friend. This doesn't count as a Burkadoo, but what's the difference between Cathedral Basilica? See? Okay, I need to make a pilgrimage. Because guess who my confirmation saint is? The difference between a cathedral is the church where there is the cathedra, the chair of the bishop. A basilica is an honorary title given to a church, saying it's spiritually important, basically. And a cathedral can also be a basilica, but is not necessarily... And just because it's a basilica does not mean it's automatically a cathedral. And then you get co-cathedrals. Let's go see Bishop Gustavo. Okay. I like that occasionally people get mad at the guys in Austin because in the Eucharistic prayer they'll name the bishop and they'll say, Joe, our bishop. And visitors will come and say, how can you disrespect your bishop that way? You're not supposed to shorten his name. It's like, no. His birth name, his baptismal name is just Joe. Based on what I've seen, Gustavo does seem like a really nice guy. If his name is Joe, his name is Joe. Exactly, but like, if I were to tell you someone is Joe, you'd probably assume their name is Joseph. Get as much of this burning in there as possible. Sure, I have plenty of saplings. I can burn a few. Do I ever travel? I do. Yeah, so as a priest, canonically, I get 4 weeks vacation plus 1 week for private retreat each year. When is my next tour? That might be a little more difficult to do. But, yeah, I do get time off, and so I get to go home and see family sometimes, or travel for vacations. I just went up to Lake George at the beginning of this month to make a private retreat. Oh, being called Miha? Oh. Diocese was originally the Diocese of Galveston. Yeah. That's... Do I know Father Michael Moses? Never heard of him. Of course, I can no longer see the setting sun. Okay, so we have to erect this wall. Well, these two walls. Do their buttresses. Let's go to flight mode. Do these two bell towers. Finish these two halves of bell towers. You said but. Decorate the sacristies and do all the windows and do these two bell towers. So we have 4 bell towers, 2 half bell towers, 2 walls, several buttresses, but we're making good progress. Don't... He touched the butt. So let's work on some of the buttressing. And we need to do some landscaping, particularly around this edge. Would I be opposed to visitors one of these days? In person or in Minecraft? Given the context, I feel I should ask. IRL? Hey, I'm open for people coming by and saying hi. Hey, GameX! Reset for 6 months. Thank you so much. The crafting of mines goes well if I can place blocks. This is currently what we've built so far. Hold on. There we go. There it all is. So funny thing, the other week I was looking up things for work and came across a Busted Halo article. Hey, let's go. There you go. Hashtag my work. You want to come back to NYC? NYC is a great place. It's crazy. It's weird. I hate the touristy parts, but I love the city. Yep. Brayherd and I will be at Doxicon in DC, which is being hosted at the Catholic University of America. My old alma mater. Food in New York is next level. Yeah. Yeah, food in New York is next level. It's like I don't get why there's fast food places. Like, just go to a food cart. You can visit the shrine. Oh, don't worry. I visited that many a time. Used to walk past it every day to get to class. Was ordained a deacon there. Last time you were in New York was 2014. Oh. Doxicon, Brit. It's a convention on the intersection of speculative fiction and faith hosted by the Orthodox Church in the DC area. Dante's is your favorite bar? That Father Evan is listed there. He looks familiar. Nah, couldn't be. It is a fun conference. I went last year because I'm like, I had found out about it, and I was like, this is exactly the kind of thing I would love. Spend a weekend with nerds. Nerds of faith. And I was right. The last time I was in New York was your ordination. That's fair, but you don't like New York. And I don't blame you. Like, your opinion is valid. Better looking at your picture. I like that headshot, I think. You also don't like New York? That's fair. You're allowed to be wrong, K-Max. But you don't like the smell of the greatest city on the earth? Okay, that is all of the pillars done from the outside. So now it's just the buttresses on the outside. Your favorite New York City breweries are there? I mean, but that's like saying I love Milwaukee because my favorite Milwaukee breweries are there. I get what you're saying, but just the way you phrased it is making me laugh. Someone tell me why Delta has flights to and from New York for a random weekend in October. Because a lot of business people fly to and from, and if it's Columbus Day weekend, that's a holiday here. And it's so cheap is my point. Look, business guys gotta fly. Some people will fly into New York for the work week and then fly home. You flew into New Jersey last time you visited Connecticut just to avoid New York? Fair. You're not allowed to describe New York's smell on my stream without violating terms. That is entirely true. It is particularly bad when it is hot. It's not so bad in the winter. Threes, Eastwild, Brooklyn Kura, Fireback. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The Amtrak is just closer to EWR. Yeah. But also, anyway, Mel has redeemed a father joke. Hey Mel, how did the cucumber become a pickle? It went through a jarring experience. Strongly considering looking to lodging logistics now. There you go. Oh gosh. Logging off. Yeah, okay. Bye, Bad Roxy. That is the appropriate response, I'm afraid. Okay, yeah, I like how this space came together in the end. Like, that's... like, the large apps and the small apps to mirror the just general kind of bell design. Where's the unfollow? So yeah, we'll make those stained glass. And then have a little stained glass window up there as well. I might bring its bottom down by 1. The thing is with New York, you really have to think of it as like 4 cities at one time. Have you ever heard of a jar in a jar in a jar? Is it one of those churches entirely underground dug out of rock? I want to go to the one that's made of salt. Like there's a salt mine, I think it's in Mexico, that was turned into a church. Wonder if you could do a big thurible with a campfire inside. Oh, like do a Botafumeiro? Maybe. I don't know if I really want a Botafumeiro in here, though. 4 cities at one time is not making it better. I'm not saying it makes it better. I think it's just the way to think of it. Because you have Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens and the Bronx, and Staten Island. Why must travel cost money? Why must things cost money? Stupid capitalism. No. The Queens and Brooklyn are one city. They know what they did. I wanted to go to... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that in Helsinki, but I didn't want to pay the tourist fees, only to see it from the outside. Fair enough. There's opal mining town in the middle of Australia that's so hot you can't have buildings above ground. It's called Coober Pedy. I've seen pictures of an underground church there and it seems pretty cool. I sure hope it's cool if it's that hot on the surface. And of course the Australians would do something like that. Oh, I just remembered what I was thinking of doing. I'm not going to do it now because it's completed, but I had been thinking of making the apps in the same as the wood as this. I think it actually works better not being that. Wyoming has an underground city. Colorado has an underground military base. Saw a chapel made salt mine by Salzburg. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I think there's one also in Mexico, though. Moving from to Georgia from Idaho. Well, that is a strict upgrade. A lot of Colorado's underground military base is actually on other planets. When I watched Stargate, right, what was I thinking? Upgrade. Have you been to Idaho? Yes! It's like Utah, but weirder. Go north of Coeur d'Alene and just... everything goes wrong. I like Idaho. I'm not surprised you like Idaho. Just screen it being weirder? Yeah, fair enough. Sometimes just as a streamer, though, you just have to say the thing for the bit. Stargate is documentary, obviously. Weirder isn't always a bad thing. True. But there are certain kinds of weird that are worse. Telling Gale you're not surprised he likes Idaho feels like a burn. It's not. I know Gale well enough to... that when Gale says that, I'm like, yeah, actually, that tracks. Finish knocking down these trees, and I think that'll be a great place to call it for the day. like how some trees have already finished growing before I'm even done cleaning up and chopping everything down. All right. Let's take one last look. And we still need to do the facade. That'll probably be the last major project. Is this Jazz Paladin? No, it's Ron Galinas. So yeah. So, and then we'll decorate an altar space here. I need to put in stairs like I've started over here to smooth out the insides, but and it's gonna take so much more sandstone. So we'll get to there. The project is still ongoing, but thanks so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. It's been good to be with y'all today. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Join us again tomorrow for Retro Thursday, Throwback Thursday, where we're going to be playing some Power Ranger games, Power Ranger Power Hour. It's going to be fun. Great way to lead into the weekend. Y'all are welcome for the stream. God bless you too. Next week, I will not be streaming on Monday or Tuesday, as I'm at an all-day retreat / planning session for Busted Halo, so I won't be available. Maybe on Tuesday, we'll see, but we'll play it by ear. And other than that, just next week, more Midweek Minecraft and more Power Ranger Power Hour. So thank you to everyone who's liked, followed, subscribed, checked out the YouTube, checked out the Discord, all that good jazz. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and let's see who can raid into. Looks like, yeah, check out the YouTube. Yeah, it's got funny shorts. We're going to raid over to Clavier Talus. Raid call, just father raid, spam the meat morph if you've got it. Yeah, I mean, your shorts now? All right. Well, hopefully more of those to come. And you can help by making clips. But yeah, so we should have a good time over at Clavier's, and go ahead, give them some love. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Take care, and God bless.